Cory, thank you so much for doing this. What went through your mind when you saw Benoit score last night?
Well, yeah, I was happy that the Leafs won. I hadn't really put two and two together until I got a couple of texts from a couple of people, and then I was like, oh yeah, and I started thinking about Game 3, Ottawa tied it up late. A defensive defenseman scores to make it 3-0. Yeah, no, so I was kind of giggling at it.
That is pretty nice. Just put her on net in overtime, right? Good things happen. But overall, this team you've been watching, what kind of vibes are you getting? Is it different than years in the past? Do you think that Ottawa just isn't a heavy enough opponent, or do you really think that these guys are built for the playoffs like they haven't been in the past?
Yeah, I like their defense right now. I like their balance of the fourth line. I think Domi's line had some good minutes last night with Pacioretty on that line. I thought they brought some good energy, and Carlo, Ekman Larson, Tanev, Benoit, they just bring some size and some toughness to that lineup that they haven't had in the past.
It's a lot different. And again, there's just so many examples that could bring you success in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Vegas, for one, comes to mind, the St. Louis Blues. But just that night by night and night, like how much of a toll does that play on your body when you're playing every other day in the Stanley Cup playoffs and you're playing for keeps?
Well, yeah, it's a ton of a little bit of luck not to get hurt, but bigger guys win the playoffs. I don't care what it is. There, you look back at the lineups that have won the last 10 20 years, they're all big teams, and the little guys, they're good players in the regular season, but that pounding of every night in the playoffs, it just wears them down, and you got to have those big boys to keep driving through.
And we've talked about the differences between today's hockey and, say, the early 2000s. Can you tell our listeners what you notice when you watch and what you remember about those series, as far as the physicality, the extracurriculars, just the intensity level and the hatred and the ability to play so much heavier where the rules weren't like they are now? Do you recognize a huge difference when you're watching these days?
Oh yeah. I during COVID, there was a few old games, old playoff games in the Leafs. Actually, the one that I scored in, and I recorded, and my son's who's a 16-year-old, he watches the game. He's like, I can't believe all the penalties that they didn't call back then.
Yes.
But the playoffs, there's just such more, there's so much more intensity, and when you're hitting a guy, you're going through him hard. Regular season, maybe not so much, right? So every hit, every time you're going to the net or you're body checking somebody, it's always a little bit more. And really the regular season for these guys is, I wouldn't say a cakewalk, but it's nothing like we went through back in the day. But then you get to the playoffs, and these guys, they're not really used to, they might not be used to the grind it is, because the rules do change. You can see it. Yeah, it's frustrating as a fan. I'm sure you guys get frustrated with what they're calling, what they're not calling, but yeah, that's just the way it is, I guess.
Yeah, don't worry. I had a huge rant on that earlier on in the podcast. Just consistency, man. The third period, there was a couple trips and a couple plays. And then the Ottawa perspective, there's a reason why that team leads the league every year in power plays. Just dive city. I felt like I was watching the Summer Olympics and Michael Phelps, but I digress on that front. April 16th, 2001, you score your OT winner, Game 3 in the Battle of Ontario. That one taking place at then Air Canada Center. What do you remember about that goal?
Well, you know what, that was one of the obviously one of the highlights of my career. They tied it. We were dominating that series. They were big time favorites. We went to Ottawa, dominated them to 2 games. We come back to Toronto. Man, I don't even know how many shots they had on goal that night, but it wasn't very many. And then they got one kind of fluky goal, another kind of fluky goal, and they tied up 2-2. And I remember sitting in the room, we're all kind of like, oh, we just woke them up, right? And we went back out. There was a couple of chances on both ends, and then Sergei shot it, and Lalime terrible rebound. Like you look at that, you look at that, and how to,
True.
it wasn't even in a hard shot, but he just like blockered it out through the slot, like, and popped over, I think, Rob Zomner's stick, and then I was just in the right spot at the right time.
Pretty nice. A lot of focus has been on the big boys and the stars of this team in the past playoffs. And, at the end of the day, their lack of ability to score, whether it's the power play or 5-on-5, but points coming out their ears this year. It's been a good start so far in the first 3 games, although none of them has seemed to be like off this planet. Who is it that you've noticed that's really stepped it up? If anybody, has it been a collection of all of them just stepping up their game, or what do you notice about the stars?
Well, I really like Matthews, his full game. They were talking about a little bit on there last night that he's, not scoring as many goals, but his defensive part of the game is really improved. And, those guys, they've, it's hard to play in Toronto, and they've got a lot of pressure on them. They see their team right now, and it's kind of like, yeah, this could be the year. So I think they've all stepped up their game. Ottawa's obviously going to check them hard. They just got to find ways to get it done, and for the most part, they've done that.
And there's a common factor for me, and taking nothing away from Sheldon Keefe. Thought he was a great coach, done some great things here with the New Jersey Devils, but it's Craig Berube in the system and how different this team looks as one cohesive unit. You played for the great Pat Quinn. Do you see any parallels between the two head coaches?
Well, Chief and Pat, they just bring that presence when they're in the dressing room, and Craig just brings that, let's get her done, and work style attitude, right? And Pat was the same way. So I think the players feed off that probably quiet energy that they bring, and I think that's where you're getting a little bit more from them this year.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as the Leafs enter an elimination game right now, you've been in that exact same position. Does anything change, or what's the mentality going on in the locker room before an elimination game?
Well, you're excited because you want to get the series over as quickly as you can, but that they're going to play, desperate, very desperate, because they don't want to go home. So, you try to keep it simple, start of the game, and just keep playing your system, and hopefully, capitalize on a couple chances you get. And, if you get up in a big game like that, then, the other team starts taking chances, and then hopefully capitalize on those chances. But you just got to keep playing your game. For these guys, they got to keep focused, and, you play a 60-minute game. You got them on the ropes. They're going to take chances and capitalize when you get a scoring chance.
Cory, to me, it sounds like you got that belief and that passion. Do you think this could be a lengthy run for the Toronto Maple Leafs this season?
Well, I hope so. I like I said, I like their team a lot better than I have any other years. Stolarz is playing exceptional. You got to have a good goalie. So, I can finish off Ottawa in 4, stay healthy. They'll have a huge, whoever comes out of Florida and Tampa, that's going to be a big series. So I think whoever wins that series will be in the final.
Cory, awesome stuff, man. Thank you so much for doing this on short notice. I just had to reach out after I saw Benoit score. It just brought back shades to me, even as a 35-year-old, seeing you score back in 01. You're an absolute stud. Thank you so much for your time today, man.
You're welcome, guys. Good luck to you guys in the Leafs. We'll chat with you soon.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.